Hi guys! Today I plan to make a couple of topiaries. Every time I am at a plant nursery, I always check out the boxwoods, and what I'm looking for is the perfect candidate to turn into a topiary. You want to find one with a central leader, but in this one I found two perfect candidates. Now if you pull back the foliage, the first thing you're looking for is a strong central leader. That's the main branch that does the growing. And I don't know if it was originally one plant and it grew two main branches, or if maybe they stuck two cuttings into the soil to make a fuller looking plant. A lot of times nurseries will do that, and if you know what you're looking for, you can end up with two plants. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to split the plant in half, and then I'm going to prune it quite drastically, pruning it upwards so that the growth on the top is going to turn into my into a nice ball shape. Now, the ultimate finished product will take a couple years of trimming and tending, but that's the fun part. To take this was, I think, $12, no, $14.98. And I normally don't buy full price plants. I look for the clearance rack. But in this case, I knew I was going to get, if all goes well, two plants. Really, it's only about $7.50 per topiary. And yes, I'll have to wait, but patience is a virtue. So let's get started. I'm just gonna cut it in half, and then I'll start on my trimming. I'm not sure that buying clearance boxwood is a good idea, because if you see a boxwood that's not looking well and you don't know the symptoms of boxwood blight, you don't know whether that plant was neglected or it's ultimately come down with boxwood blight. So, you know, it's best to avoid rescue boxwoods, in my opinion. So let's get started on this. This is a green mountain boxwood, and they're actually good candidates right from the start because they do have a taller stature. So let's see what I can do. I might be separating two plants out, or I might be just cutting down that central part of the plant, and as long as each side has roots, it should heal over okay and be fine as two plants. So I've got a couple different types of clippers. These clippers are great for taking off the branches, and these are good for bigger, thicker branches. So I'll just see what I need. But these are, you know, these are pruners, these are snips, this is a kitchen knife, and then I have my garden knife, my Hori Hori, which has a sharp blade on this side and a serrated blade on this side. So once I get into the plant, I'll see which tools I need to use. And let me put my gloves on, just because I'm working with the dirt. It's important to have clean tools too whenever you cut into any plant, whether it's a shrub or a house plant. The last thing you want to do is introduce any bacteria into the wound. So let's get started. And as you can, if you want to just bring this home and turn it into a ball, you could prune it down nicely. But what I really want to do is get a nice stem on each of these plants that I hope to get. So let's just take it out of the pot. And it has a very nice root system, which will be split between the two of them. So I'll put that aside. And let me go ahead and cut in between what looks to be like two different plants. Like I said, if we find it's one plant, it's okay as long as both sides end up with some roots. So let me cut through there. Just right down the middle. I'm going slowly and carefully. And sometimes if you pull the soil away, you can see what's going on. So I know this looks like a brutal process, but I promise I'm going to pamper it after I get them all set up in their own pots. Now, it looks like this is all one plant. So what I'm doing is I'm separating them out, and I'm trying to create as the a little amount of damage as I can, but remember, I'm printing the top too, so it won't be supporting so much foliage once I'm done with it. And I think perhaps my Hori Hori would work a little bit better on this. Let's bring in the big guns here. Oh yeah, that's going to make it a lot easier. I'll get through the thicker wood much better. Try not to cut my chair. I'm working on a chair. I picked a shady spot in the garden so it wouldn't be too hot while I'm working. And we're almost there, guys. I just have a few more roots to cut through. The main cutting is done. But now I've come away with two plants which could be bushes, or in my case, I would like to make a topiary. So let me show you how I do that part. So the first thing you need to do is identify the straightest central leader and then cut everything away and up until its tallest point. So I think this is the biggest one here. And I'm just going to get started cutting these away. I'll cut everything off until the top, and it's going to look puny, guys. You're not going to believe how much I cut away from the plant. And I'm just cutting off everything up until the highest point that I possibly can. Let's see. See, it's getting a lot smaller, guys. But I'm going to take it all, and you're not going to believe this, I'm going to take it all the way up to here and set myself up for a very tall stem on the topiary. And I'm making these cuts very flush so they heel over, and once it grows, I'm hoping they won't even be visible. So let's see, I think this is the central leader. I'm giving it a really long stem, guys. That's why all of this foliage is disappearing. And one of my philosophies that I live by is waste not, want not. So all of these trimmings are going to be popped into a little pot, or maybe into my quick start propagation sand pot, and they're all going to be rooted out for future bushes or topiaries. So hopefully a lot of the foliage will turn into plants on their own, and I'll have a lot to work with down the road. So I'm really, while I'm cutting it here, I'm really making it flush. Okay. And I may for now leave some of these extra leaves because they gather up energy for growth. So you don't have to worry about those. You can always remove those later. The key part is removing the branches so that you have a nice long stem. But that's our first topiary, and I can just go ahead and cut it back. And everywhere I cut it back, branches will come out. There we go. Doesn't it look puny, guys? But it's okay because it's going to flush back out. And I did this earlier in the spring, and I have a nice little topiaries to show for it now. They're not the perfect spears yet, but a couple years from now they're going to be beautiful. So this is our first one, and we have loads of cuttings that I can just pop in and propagate. And you know how I like to propagate. I'm sure you do as well. This one has a fantastic root system, so I expect it'll do really well. So let's cut off the bottom branches here. We're just cutting off the branches all the way back, and then I'll go back and trim it. I think I'll just do this very quickly here. You can decide how long you want the stem to be. I wanted mine to be as tall as possible so that it really has that topiary look. And I'm gonna go all the way up to the top so I have a really nice stem. And by next year, it should look good. That one went really fast. I'm going to trim up the edges. But again, look, we have a fairly straight stem here. For now, I'll leave a few of the leaves on the trunk just to gather energy for growth and gather that sunlight. But look guys, we have 2 topiaries. And I'm going to go ahead and pot those up. I know it looks like I took almost all the plant away, but this one in particular has a lot of roots to it. And I hope you could see what I'm doing from here. So everywhere I cut, more branches will come out from under there. So I'm encouraging branches by making it look tiny like this. But we want it to branch out into a ball. Okay, so here are my 2 topiaries gotten from that big bush. Make sure you remove all the branches. And I'm going to plant those up and I'll show you what they look like. Lest you think I'm a wasteful woman, I have 12 boxwood cuttings to stick down into some moist soil, and if all works out, I'll have a little boxwood hedge and 2 topiaries. And these are the new pots I chose to put my new topiaries in. The trees are going to look kind of puny at first, but that's okay because I can do some underplantings, either flowers or some creeping sedum. I'll find something beautiful in there. But I wanted to show you that I usually add a little bit of my garden soil in. This is my clay garden soil from Maryland. But it has a lot of micronutrients, I think, that a lot of store-bought soils don't have. And since I plan to keep these in the pot for a few years, I think that's best for the plant. It's a shrub, and ideally, it would be best if it were planted in the ground, but this will be the next best thing. I'm just going to mix it all together with my Miracle-Gro soil and hope for the best. So there we go, guys. The twin topiaries are all potted up, and I am just tickled. I think they look wonderful in the blue pots, and they'll fill out in no time, and they are, I think, some of my straightest topiaries. So I think I'm extra especially tickled because I have a twin sister. So if I look at these 2 twin topiaries, I can think of us. And by the way, look how wonderful the cuttings came out. It almost looks like a small boxwood bush. So hopefully those will continue to look nice. And of course, I'm going to keep everything well watered and in this mostly shady location, as they have experienced a lot of drama. So thanks so much for watching, guys, and I'll see you next time.